How's it going, guys? It's Jack with Jack Banks MMA, and I wanted to give you guys an early betting preview, I would say, for UFC Paris. So this is going to be a more informal video, but I wanted to give you guys some of the betting thoughts and ideas that I have going into next week. But let's get right into it with the first bet of 4 that I have for you guys, which is going to be Figlak versus Ziem. Fight goes to decision. And I think, honestly, either fighter could be played to win via decision, depending on what the odds end up being. Ziem has only gone to decisions except for his last fight against Terrence McKinney. And Terrence McKinney is a wrecking ball, and every fight of his seems to end in the first round. So I think that is more the outlier. Figlak's last few fights in Cage Warriors have all gone to decision. I think Ziem, while he definitely has struggled with grappling, he has improved his grappling defense, and I think he'll be able to do enough to keep it a competitive fight, give himself an opportunity to have some chances on the feet. Figlak is going to look to close the distance, in my opinion. I think he will try to throw some bombs here and there, but I do think he's going to look to grapple. And from what I've seen with Figlak's grappling, he is a position over submission style grappler, and so I think he will control Ziem. I could see Figlak winning, like 29-28, but I also can see Ziem winning this fight as well. I think it's a close fight, closer to a 50-50 than what the odds currently are, so I'm very interested in fight goes to decision once that's finally offered. Next up for me is going to be Farn versus Perez. I like Perez via finish, but more confidently, I would say this fight doesn't go to the distance. I'm not super confident in Perez in this spot just because she hasn't really fought great competition on the regional scene. This is her first UFC fight, and I believe it's going to be at 145. And from what I've seen in the past, she's mostly fought at 135. So that is a little bit of a step up. Farn hasn't looked great in her 2 UFC fights, but she's had 2 UFC fights. And she will have the striking advantage, especially with the reach in this fight. Perez is just far more aggressive, though, and I do think if I were to side with anybody to get the finish, it would be her with some ground and pound. Next up, my third betting idea for UFC Paris as of right now is Imavov versus Buckley. And this is the one, this is similar to the last bet. I'm not quite as confident on this one compared to the first one. But I'm leaning Imavov via TKO or KO. I think the money line is a little bit wide. Imavov is around a minus 250 favorite. I do think he wins this fight about 65% of the time, so there's a little bit of value on Buckley on the money line. However, I've seen Buckley go up against fighters who have a similar style to Imavov. Right, we've seen Buckley, albeit a little bit unfair, his UFC debut where he had really short notice against Kevin Holland. He lost that fight via TKO in the 3rd round, and Kevin Holland's straight shots really gave Buckley some issues. Now, he beat Arroyo in the 3rd round, and Arroyo just, to me, he was just not throwing. It was like he kept waiting for a big opportunity, and then that opportunity came for Buckley. Now, Buckley has certainly improved as a fighter. That was definitely evident in the Duraev fight. But I think Imavov just presents a completely different set of challenges for Buckley. Now, I did say Buckley has faced people like Imavov. I don't think Imavov really has faced anybody like Buckley. So that makes it a little bit tricky, and that's why I'm struggling a little bit with my confidence. I don't love the money line here, but depending on the odds on Imavov to win by finish, really, I would like that. There is a chance he even gets a submission in this fight. Imavov has been hunting them, so I wouldn't be surprised if he finally finishes with that. So moving on to my last bet or betting idea for UFC Paris. It's going to be Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vettori. Fight goes to decision. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the odds are on that, because I think it would be a nice play to parlay that with Figlak versus Ziem to go to decision as well. If I were to pick either fighter to win this fight, it's going to be Robert Whittaker. I keep trying to find an angle for why Marvin Vettori will win this fight. So if you guys have one, please let me know. I see Whittaker. Number one, he has tremendous takedown defense. So I see Vettori having a hard time taking this fight to the mat. Even if he does, Whittaker, I think, will be able to get back up. And with that being said, Robert Whittaker is the better kickboxer. So I think Whittaker wins this fight 6.5, 7 times out of 10. I think the odds are about right at minus 200, minus 220. If they get higher than that, I do think there could be a little bit of value on the Vettori side, but I'm looking to play Whittaker via decision, and this fight goes to decision for UFC Paris. Let me know what bets you guys are looking at for the card. It's a little bit of a tricky card. We've lost some fights as the weeks have gone on, so I think I'm going to be looking to play more of these props versus the money lines, as they're a little bit wide. Obviously, the main event, Cyril Gane is like a minus 500 favorite, so that's another fight where the money line doesn't really make sense. But let me know what bets you guys are thinking about. What do you think of my suggestions here? And I look forward to checking in with you guys next week for my complete best bets for UFC Paris. See you next week.